Like always, I really don't know when I'm ever really live. So let me just double check and triple check just to make sure my expert technical skills is paying off. This is Lady O. How are you guys? I know it's kind of weird to see me here without my husband, Riz. And for those of you who do not know me, I will introduce myself and what the topic is today. It's a big one. Are you guys ready? So let me just see. Okay, it looks like I'm live. Great. And I will be taking questions. I'm going to do kind of a lot of talking first up front, kind of get you guys understanding what I'm going to talk about. And then if you have any questions throughout, I'll answer as much as I can. And who knows how long we'll go. We're just going to wing it. Okay. Are you guys ready? So I'm Araya. I have been a shaman and I'm an empath. I've been a shaman for a long time. Let's just clarify that. For over a decade, helping thousands of people with my husband. We opened a healing center in Malibu for a very long time. Hundreds of people through our house, pictures online. It's really amazing. It's been a great, great run. And now we're kind of gearing a lot of stuff on to YouTube and also focusing on our international retreats, which we do like 5 or 6 a year. They're super fun, super amazing. And we bring all of our skills and everything that we know and we've learned to you. And my husband is a trance channel and a psychic medium. So I have been encroached or enveloped in that world. Encroach is probably not the right word. If that's even a word. If you know me, I make up words. If you watch any of my shows prior, I make up a lot of words. So today's topic is going to be about rebirth, spiritual rebirth, death and rebirth. What is it? How does it work? Do you have it? Are you going through it? What does it mean? I'm going to keep it out of the foo-foo la-la as much as possible for you. I'm also not religious, so this is really technical. It's really physical, psychological, physiological. It's really about your stages of development as a human being. I see some people coming in. Hey, y'all. Hi, Arthur, Amy. We got the dream team here. We got Rogue in the house. We got Aqua Sunny. We have Bill Barnes. I think Bill might be new. And it's really great to see you guys. And is Erica's in the house? Hey, E. Usually she's moderating for me. And right now she's working in a different location. If she wants to, she can moderate. I don't know. Should I? No. I'm just going to leave you alone today, Erica. I got this. All right. So here we go. And as you guys keep coming in, welcome. And once I start, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dive deep. I will pause. I will look at the chats to see any questions and keep going. So here we go. Now, I have to first explain to you how I know about this thing called rebirth. It's not just from my shamanic work. It's not just from working with clients. I had a personal experience, and that was in 2009. It took place at the end of November 2009 to the first week in December 2009. I had what you call kind of a fast track rebirth. Like it was like a launch. Some people, their rebirth can spread out over years. I call those people, there's a difference between somebody who just says, fuck it, and I don't know if I'll be believed for that, jump over the high board in the diving board, or there's people who take the medium board or the lower diving board and they'll jump off of those boards first before they want to, fully surrender to a rebirth experience. I happen to have a personality that I like to go to the heights, to the highest diving board, and I just jump. So here's what I mean. So a spiritual death means basically that you're coming to the end of your rope. What does that mean? That means you're coming to the end of every rope. That means your belief systems, what you believe in anymore, is now being questioned by you. You are at the end of your rope, hitting a wall against where you are in your career path, where you are possibly in your relationships, how you see yourself, how you think every day, and you feel like this torrential storm is coming. It's brewing in the background, and it's rising and rising and rising. And you think it's probably attributed to the fact that you may not like the job you're in, you may not like the partner you're with, or you may not like being single, or you may not like some particular area. That could be the catalyst. That will be your focus at first, because that's what you think it is. You actually think it's the thing. It's the environment. It's the friendships. It's maybe you have an addiction. It could be anything that you feel like you're coming to the end of your rope and you can't take it anymore and you're done. Like you are finished with that behavior, with those thoughts. You want freedom. You want a different life. You want to be at peace. I'm not talking right now. I'm not talking about I'm done with the planet and I want to get off the planet, although I will touch on that. Okay. But the reason I don't want to go that extreme up front is because there's so many stages before that. And a lot of people will trigger a rebirth before they get to the point where they just don't want to be on the planet. So we'll cover that. But right now I just want to talk about those of you who experience this, it's kind of an exhaustion. I also want to talk about the earlier stages before you become very aware that your environment is kind of closing in on you, like you cannot continue on anymore. There's a stage right before that where you start getting kind of like a tip off. There's these little thoughts that'll start coming in the back of your mind that you start thinking about things differently. New thought patterns, things you've never thought of before. Watching a video, watching music, like a music video, or songs you used to listen to, or food you used to eat, or places you used to go, friendships you are normally accustomed to. All of a sudden, you'll get this little weird thought, and the thought is, I'm not really into this. I'm not really feeling this right now. I don't know why, but it doesn't have the same taste. Think about that. First of all, let me just check in with everybody. Okay, great. Christine, yay. Okay, so, the idea of talking about rebirth, by the way, just the title alone is not one that a lot of people understand or even want to talk about. It's not like an exciting topic. So those of you who are tuning in have an interest. So you guys are either have experienced it or going through it, or maybe at the end of it. If you want, as we go along, you could share that with others. If you feel inclined, you can share with people how you feel about that, but of where you are in the stages. So let's go back to the beginning. So the first thing is the thoughts start to change. You start thinking about different things. In other words, your patterns start to become boring. Your routine becomes stale. Your way of looking at things, just ignore the crying cat in the back if you hear her. It's kind of like you start to get tired of yourself. You start to get tired of everything around you, and you start to feel this feeling like you're flatlining emotionally. Some people go into numbness right away. Some people go into just like they're going through the motions like a robot, but you become aware of that and you start realizing that that's not who you are. And then you start realizing, what am I doing? And what have I been doing? And who am I married to? Or who have I been dating? Or who is this? Why am I with this friend group? Or why am I wearing these clothes? Or why do I keep going to the same restaurants? Why do I keep ordering the same food? That's the beginning stages of how it begins. So this conversation starts to become more apparent and louder. It gets louder and louder and louder until you start to it's like your cage starts rattling and you start to get this feeling like you have to break free, like somehow you have to stop something. And, it's funny because looking back now, sometimes you really do feel it's the thing that is stopping you. But as I will tell you now, looking back, I will tell you that there is so many other things at play. It's not just the people, places, or things that are bothering you. It's a bigger picture behind that. It's who has been operating your body, who has been living this life all this time, all these years, all these decades, is this really me? So that's the big question you start asking yourself. At first, you're shaky because you're feeling like you're stepping out of the lines you're supposed to be walking in a particular way in life. And then you start to question those things. So you feel shaky, like you're doing something wrong or something is wrong. And you wonder, like, what is going on? Am I okay? So then the second round of questions you're going to ask yourself is there something wrong with me? Do I have a problem? Like, am I going through midlife crisis? Am I going through PTSD? Am I going through trauma or some sort of buildup? And now I'm losing it. I'm losing my cool. I'm losing my cookies. Like, you just feel like you are, you're fragmenting. Now you can't really do or be or say the same things you used to, and you don't know why. And that could really throw you off. So I gave you guys a lot right now before I get to the next stages. So I'm going to pause and just check in with you guys. Okay. Yes. So Christine, who cares about Taylor Swift's love life? Right. You're questioning media, which is really great. Okay, great. Sunny, you relate to what I'm saying? Okay, yes. Okay, so of course we're going to take our cleansing breath right now because we're diving in deep waters, you guys. So those of you who are here, you brave souls that are going to tackle this conversation with me, it's visceral, it's real, it is like you can feel it in your bones. And that's why I have waited to have this conversation, because it's not easy to talk about. It's very amorphous, and there's no set guidelines or rule book. There's a million books and a million people talking about this online, but everybody says it in their own way. All I can give you is that I have experienced it myself starting November 2009. And I've gone through as many stages as you can possibly imagine to the other side of it. And I've helped countless people through the rebirth and ascension stage, and so does Riz. So my hands are deep in the conversation daily. And so let me continue. So I'll do my best to stay on track. If I get sidetracked, just tell me to answer certain questions if I get thrown off. Okay, here we go. So we're going to go back to the stage where you start questioning yourself if there's something wrong with you. So then you start asking yourself, like, was there always something wrong with me? Maybe I'm just like faulty since birth. Like there's something really wrong with me, apparently, because other people are quote unquote living their normal life, their best life, and I'm questioning everything. So who am I? What is this? And then, some people go as deep as like, well, who are my parents and why are these people my siblings? Who are these people and who are these employees that I've been going to lunch with every day, and who are my neighbors that I've been talking to, and like, what outfit am I wearing? This is not even me right now. And why do I keep ordering the same thing? And you start to get this feeling. It's almost like you can't even help yourself. It's like a knee-jerk reaction. It's like a rejection of the past. It's a rejection of the norm. It's your eyes start to shift. There's a filter change. Like you can imagine like changing sunglasses or something, different color sunglasses is like the filter changes. And it's like you'll be watching the news or watching YouTube. Like I watch the news on YouTube, right? So like you'll be watching a news clip, and instead of just taking it in like you normally do and receive that information with the same background information you have on the topic, what you do is you start questioning now. I'm not talking about controversies or not controversies. I wish Erica was here, my Virgo assistant, to help me. Conspiracies, that's the word. So I'm not talking about conspiracies, so leave all that out. That just convolutes and confuses everything I'm talking about. So don't talk about that right now. Get that out of your mind. Okay. So we're just talking about the way your mind shifts and the way your eyes shift when you watch something. So let's go back to the news article. So you're listening and you're paying attention to the news anchor, and the news anchor's talking. The thing is, the new you, this new evolving you, starts to question, who are these people? Where are they getting their data from? Why are they talking like that? Why do they sound like that? Why are they dressed like that? Why are they talking to each other like that? That's weird. That doesn't sound authentic. That sounds off. What's going on here? I don't understand. Now, I know that's a rabbit hole, okay? So everybody just calm down. We're not going to go there. Maybe in the future I will, but right now we're not talking about that. But you start questioning, okay? Then you start questioning things like what's really at play underneath it all. So yeah, Taylor Swift, you can use that as an example. I've talked about Taylor Swift and what's happening in the phenom that's going on right now in the media. I've talked about it with those, my friends and family at home. And I'm not ready to share my thoughts on that yet because, anytime you do that, you open yourself up for controversy, and I'm not looking for that. So what I notice is that there's many angles that you can cut that pie. There's many ways you can look at this with Taylor Swift. You can look at it from the positive all the way to the negative. You could look at it neutral. You could look at it like it's an activation. You could look at it like it's moving a conversation, but what is the conversation? You could look at it like who's behind it in the sense of the money that's behind it, who's getting paid from that. Like the more you know, the more you go down that rabbit hole, you start to realize that what you thought of in the past as being very like innocent to like, oh, she's just a good musician, it starts to change and you start to think differently. And so you start to wonder more about the backroom operations. You start wondering more about like the business ventures, and you start thinking more along the lines of how everything is run by money, of course. And although she has talent, and although there's lyrics and music and etc., you wonder about a lot of things. And you could bring the race card into it. You can bring any card you want into it. It's just a conversation, and it's kind of like you're loosening the soil of your mind. So that's where I'm going with this. You're just loosening the soil of your mind of how and why things happen. What I don't encourage is some people, they think this part that I'm talking about is your final rebirth, and this is not. You are literally at stage one. Stage one. So no, there is so many more stages to go. This is just the first stage where you start to question what's going on. Now, some people get trigger happy here, and they start like going off on people online, and you start hearing all that rhetoric. And that's where Riz and I feel very passionate about that. And that's why we have the show and we talk all the time, is we want to start a new conversation with everyone that we can be more neutral. It doesn't have to be one way or the other. So you don't have to have extreme views to function on the planet. You can have a neutral point of view. You could look at all sides of every coin, both sides of the coin. I just can't talk today. Just bear with me, you guys. If I had a whiteboard and I had my notes and all that, but I'm gonna do my best to get through all the stages here. So I'm gonna do a check-in with you guys. So now we're just talking about questioning what's happening. So that's another stage. So let me see where you guys are at with that. Okay, great. Yes, yes, yes. Done it several times, Rogue. Scattered energy going in every direction. Yes, that's good. Okay. Yes, you tell people in Switzerland. Hi, Simone. Great. I'm glad you guys are joining. Spirit Saurus. Thank you guys for tuning in. And so let me keep going. And as soon as you guys feel like there's some questions you have, you can start asking those questions, and I'll get to those. Okay, so let's go back. So now you're questioning things, right? And, I want to say, yes, that's good. And you are breaking free from ideology. You're breaking free from programming. You're breaking free from what you've been taught as a child through culture, religion, society, education, infrastructures, institutions. Nothing wrong with all of those things. Remember, it's not that there's something wrong with it. It's that you didn't know that you have a choice. And the reason you didn't know you had a choice is because the people who taught it to you don't know that there's a choice. So it just goes back and back and back. And some people have tracked it all the way back to the aliens. You can take it as far back as you want to go. But I'm just talking about what's happening to you in your physical body right now. Because if you're feeling like, I think Bill said, scattered. So this is why I'm here to help you with your day-to-day activities. I don't mind talking about aliens and all that. But right now, I just want to focus on how you're feeling in your day-to-day life, okay? Because this is where it really gets very important, obviously. Okay, so now you have, let's say I'm going to call it, we have shaken your cage. Okay, your cage is rattling now. So this is where you start to not know what to believe. You don't know who to talk to, who to trust, what's what. You start thinking maybe you have a mental illness. You start going down the list of mental illnesses. I'm not going to list them all. You know what they are. And you start wondering if you have them. And you start checking them off and reading Google and getting definitions and listening to YouTube people and trying to see if there's something wrong with your brain. Because why are you questioning everything? You've never questioned anything before. Why now? Okay. While this is happening, there's a secondary layer that's happening in the body. And what's happening in the body is your body starts to respond to this new stimulus. Your mind is changing. So it's going to affect your physical body. So as it affects your physical body, you're going to feel sensations. And let me tell you, those sensations can vary from mild to extreme, and I have experienced all of it. So this is the biggest part for me because this is the most visceral, and this is where it gets everyone's attention because people are freaking out over why their body is doing weird things. Okay, so let's start with some of the symptoms. This is called ascension symptoms. It just means that your vibration is changing. You're giving yourself more oxygen in your oxygen tank on the planet. You don't know that you are, and your brain is not used to being stimulated by new thoughts. And so there is a big residual effect of activity that's happening in the body. So the brain, so your body starts to react because there's new stimulation, new information, and it changes your breathing pattern, it changes your heart rate, and it changes the way you see everything down to your taste buds, down to what you feel like you can eat or not. Some people can't eat heavy food anymore for a while. I had to become raw food. I had to become vegetarian. I had to go through all these stages to decide what I can do and not do because my body was changing so much. So internally, here's some of the symptoms. Okay, you guys ready? Let me check in with everybody. Hello, Melody. That's my mom's name. She just crossed last year, but I'm so glad you're here. Or she didn't cross last year. I think it was a couple years ago. Okay, yeah. So you can't meditate or connect with the higher self. Well, tune in to this show because I will show you all the stages and why it's so hard when you're going through the ascension process. Okay. Ascension process is basically you're saying that you are ascending to the next plateau within yourself. So it's like a higher vibrational lifestyle. You are changing the way you see things from a lower vibrational experience to a higher vibrational experience. So let me give you an example. Let's say you're eating peanut butter and jelly sandwich every single day for 25 years, right? Okay, so just imagine you get the peanut butter out, you put it on the every single day. This is your main meal. Every day you slather the peanut butter and jelly. You might change the jelly once or twice, but for the most part, it's the same sandwich and that's all you eat. So what happens is there comes a point where you realize I can't do this anymore. That's what the rebirth ascension process means. You just can't do the routine and the constant patterns. Your body is like basically had enough, okay? Because there's more to you. You're more colorful. You're more of a multidimensional being. You're not just this one-dimensional, one-note being. So let's say now you bring in a buffet of food. So now we put the peanut butter and jelly to the side, and now you're going to get your chicken and rice and vegetables and whatever you want in your proverbial buffet for this explanation, right? You sit down and first of all, I can't believe your options. That's like the first thing you notice is, wow, how come I haven't been eating all this other food? And why haven't I been able to enjoy this? And where has it been my whole life? That's a part of your self-discovery, okay? But for now, you look at this buffet and you realize that you're hungry for other options. So you start trying different foods. And as you know, there's millions of foods different types of foods in the world. So you start trying all these combinations and different things. So what do you think is going to happen to your physical body, your physiology, your mind? Everything starts to get rewired. Everything starts to change. As you taste these different things, your body's kind of going to freak out because it's used to peanut butter and jelly. That is exactly what the ascension process is. You are awakening to yourself. That's all it is. It's not this great mystery. It is you are awakening to yourself as a multidimensional being. You are more than you think you are. You are more than what was shown to you. You are more than what you have been experiencing. Now, there's some layers in here that are important to get to. Like one of them is anger, right? We got to talk about anger because that fits in the ascension process. It weaves itself in and out while you're ascending. So anger, where anger fits in is you start to feel that you got trapped or duped or lied to. You feel like I was a Christian, right? For example, and I remember getting really upset. So you start to feel like there's a lot of trickery, and you start to see like a lot of negative things in some cases. Some people will go there first and they get very angry, and that anger can give you the fuel to change a lot of things in your life. Some people get married, some people get divorced, some people change the color of their hair, some people change their entire appearance and go under the knife. Some people leave the country, some people sell all their stuff, some people buy a mansion. Who knows? Whatever it is that you don't feel like you've given yourself permission to do, you'll go feel the impetus. Is that the word? You'll feel the desire to do those things. So there's no right or wrong because, this is all just your creation. So that there's no such thing as right or wrong in this area. It's just what you're experiencing. I would say stay away from drugs and bad things that can hurt you and like violence. Those are things I would say not to try because that never ends well for anyone. So obviously we know to just take that one off the list. But you have the world as your oyster. You have the world as in your hands as options. And people don't realize that. You just feel trapped most of the time. So this anger, it's a fuel that helps you bust through. And so when you do this busting out, this is where you start to shake up your life. And when you start shaking up your life, you're going to affect a lot of people, right? The ripple goes out. And let me tell you, everybody wakes up and realizes Amy's in the house or Buckshot's in the house, what the heck? What happened to Bill? What happened to Sunny? What happened to Christine? I used to know her. She's like a totally different person. Maybe she went off the deep end. Who knows? You really will scare people in your life, down to your own children, down to your husband, wife, your friends, family members, because the person that they thought they can count on to be one way or the only way that they could possibly be, all of a sudden you're doing something completely different. So let's say you leave your long-term job and you find a job where you can be on your laptop and you can be remote and you start traveling the world and you totally change everything. You might even change your name, which I did. And people are going to freak out in your life. They're going to freak out, and this is really big. And I want to slow down here because this big area here, as you can imagine, is a giant area of change in your life and transformation. And it begins, your self-realization journey begins. You're becoming self-realized. So that journey of self-realization begins in this stage where you start rolling up your sleeves and saying, I need to change things. Okay, let me check in with you guys again. All right, we got some of our team here. Wonderful. Okay. Yes, Araya, I chose that name. I was at Barnes & Noble. First of all, I waited 3 months to find the right name, and I looked everywhere. And then I was in Barnes & Noble, and there was 3 books. It was like a book set. It was like 3 books deep. It was like a book set, like a big, huge block of books. And it said in big gold letters along the side, it said Araya. And it was the author Araya Mountain Dreamer, I believe is her name. And I couldn't believe that name. And it was so amazing. And I said, that's it. That's the name. And so I chose it. I had no idea what it meant. And I realize now it's the Latin term it's actually Hebrew for light of God, which I will not dispute and I love. So I just said, of course, I'm going to keep that name. And I totally changed it legally and everything. So now everybody knows me as that. Okay, so let's see what Sunny says. My people have stated that I probably have lost my mind or had a nervous breakdown and need a psychiatrist. Yes. This is what they say. I'm not going to say there's an easy way out of that, okay? But I will give you a little hack. I hate that word, but let me just, for this, I think this is a good place to use that word. There is a way that you can help your family get used to this new version of you. The best way is to sit down and talk with them. And the only thing about talking with them is you can't use big terminology and big language. You can't use big concepts. You can't throw out a lot of big information at once, because look how long it took you to just learn what you know in small increments and chunks. So you can imagine if you're coming to sit down with somebody in your family and try to educate them where you are, but you start throwing all these new concepts at them, they're going to think you joined a cult or something. So you have to actually take your time, and you have to use language that is bite-sized for where they're at. So you have to give them information they can understand. Now, inside of this, I will tell you now, in my personal situation, because I do everything really big, it didn't go over so well in my family. So I don't have any family that supported me in any of this at all on both sides. So it was a huge death for me there, that I had to realize that my family only loved me if I fit their prototype, if I fit their standard they had for me, or what they thought I was or should be. And this is where I blow my nose, because I think I might be getting a little emotional. It's always hard. Okay, so people at first blush would think I'm the one who walked away from my family, but I wasn't. I'm talking about my extended family, my relatives. It wasn't me who walked away, but it was my choices were so opposite of their choices, and what I started to believe in was so completely different. And it didn't matter how much I talked about it, they just couldn't receive it. And then I didn't sound the same anymore, and I wasn't coming from a victim mentality anymore, and I was in my power, and I was speaking from an authoritative creator place, and that didn't go over very well either. And they thought I was being hoity-toity or thinking I was better than them or something, because I was standing up for myself, or being like putting my foot down and not allowing any more, I don't want to use the word domestic violence in such a big way. I want to say it's more like the difficulties that I had in my relationships that were very dark. I didn't allow that to happen anymore. And so I had to build this new character inside of me, this powerful being that knew that I deserved better. And so when that person started speaking, I sounded different, and I wasn't sounding like the same person they remember. And I just freaked everybody out. But some of you can have better luck if it's not so extreme of a change, and you can sit and talk to your family and give them information that's a little bit more palatable. So you could say things to them like, I just want to let you guys know that I had an awakening to myself. And if they can't handle the word awakening, just say, I had a realization. Most people can handle that word. I had a realization that I'm not really doing what I want to be doing in my life. And so I'm going to change my entire career path, and I might move and this and this and this. I just want to let everybody know, but I love you and I love my family, and I want to celebrate this because I feel better than I've ever felt. You're just going to have to roll the dice and see what happens and see what they say. Some people will go along with it. Some people might even have their own rebirth because of it in your family, and some people might reject it. So you just never know. But what I will tell you from experience, that you can't drag people with you. Like if they're kicking and screaming or they're dead weight and they won't change with you, you could only do so much. You can only wait around so much. So all you can do is just like keep giving them love and just, I see like memes of people making fun of spiritual people. Like, we use terms like love and light and all this stuff. Like, and people think that that's like, you got brainwashed into some alternate lifestyle. And it's crazy because it's not. I mean, Riz and I are spiritual people. Of course we are. But like, we love Elvira and paranormal stuff. And we got tarot and just crazy stuff. It's not all hang drums. What are those big drums that you sit there and it's beautiful and with the hair and the beads and the Birkenstock and the no makeup and all the things, that make you spiritual, so to speak. We just do our life. We just live however we want. And spirituality is your own journey. It's who you are. It's what you are. So it can take the forms. It can take any shape. So let me stop here and see where we're at. Okay. Try not to barf on that. Down talk. Yes. Lost in friends or family. Yes. Yep. Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you. I have to take a little moment here. It's a hard conversation, I've seen a lot of people try to tackle this conversation online, and if it's too structured and regimented, I mean, this is not that type of conversation. This is a conversation that's very, very messy and very amorphous. It's a birth. You're giving birth to yourself. This is a very messy procedure. You are giving birth to yourself. It's going to be messy. And so this you have to know. And, those of you who are discouraged or you're feeling depressed, it's only because you're trying to keep one foot back in your past and keep that old school version of you going. But there's a new version of you that's trying to break free like Tarzan, hitting your chest like, let me out. Like, I want to play before I die on this planet. And who knows when our due date is up, right? But when we leave this planet, you're going to look back, and you don't want to look back at yourself as somebody who's been hitting the walls of your life, hitting your cage walls your whole life. You have to let go. That's what surrender is all about. That's why people use that word surrender. You have to let go of the concepts and ideas that you're held back. I'll give you a example that I really love of elephants, right? So like a circus elephant will be tied to a pole. I think some of you might have heard this analogy. It's an older analogy. So a circus elephant from a young age was tied to a pole, and then, when it's just in its off time chained to the pole, it just kind of goes in that same circle and it stays in that same general area. And if you remove the pole, it actually still continues to stay in that area without the pole there. So elephants are such loving beings, right? Now, if it was a cheetah, I don't know if a cheetah would do that or a lion, but you get the idea. So we are all trying to do the right thing. Most of us, play by the rules, so to speak. So we get along well with others. All of our kindergarten rules that we learned in preschool and kindergarten, we're still trying to do them. We're still trying to understand how to live with others. So it's not in our nature, perhaps, to break through those lines. And, this is where you see over the years and the decades of people, especially even in the 60s, people who had these big revolutionary breaks from society end up, moving the conversation along for sure and changing the patterns 100%. But also in the middle of this messy rebirth as a society, you'll also see people who go into the fringe of life. And although it is wonderful for them, a lot of times it's hard to reach them. So you can't connect with them unless you go into their world. So Riz and I are trying something new. We're trying something that we don't see a lot of people doing. And so it's unusual. And we are not wanting or needing to go out on the fringe in order to be free. So we can still live in the heart of Los Angeles, California. We could still like the same kind of general things and do the same general things and have fun on this planet and travel and still be completely and utterly and totally free and be completely ourselves authentically. And we don't need to fit into anything. So if you look back at some of our photos and stuff over the years, you'll see that we've changed our look and our image and how we, do things a lot. We've changed a lot. But the thing is, it's because we want to. It's because that's who we are as artists. It's who we are as people. It's not because of any other reason. It's because we just like to play with our hair. We like to play with our clothes, and we like to have fun. And we've been this way. I've been this way since high school, and so is Riz. So that's why it's harder for me to teach this class than I think when you go to like other teachers who talk about this, because I don't know if they're teaching this part, what I'm sharing with you. It's very specific. What I'm saying is you can change without having to change your entire world so much that you are never seen again by anyone. No one can touch you or feel you, or know you, because you're so completely different. You've become an alien in your own world. So we went that whole route, and then we came back to center, that circle of light, that circle. And we have realized that where it's at is not in the extreme changes as much as it is in the announcing to yourself that you are the creator of your own destiny, that you are the one who is creating your path, and that you are love and light, of course. So you're not here to make war. You're here to play. What a concept, right? So let me check in with you guys. Said a lot right there. Social standard. Okay. For those of you feeling brain dead, you came to the right channel. Okay. Okay. Different boundary. Okay. So Melody says, I'm from Utah and a raised Mormon. Okay, great. Through the years, I've had to create different boundaries with different family members. Thankfully, they still love me, but continue to bring me back in the fold. Yeah, Christianity and Mormonism, and all that is very similar. Catholicism. Yes. Thank you, Dawn. Yes, we are here to enjoy the human experience. So yes, play. Okay, so you see how this conversation feels? It's very juicy. There's a lot of information here. So let's go back to the which topic should we go back to? We could talk about feeling kind of like listless, brain dead, numb. We could talk about more play. What topic would you guys like me to go into? I could talk about what that looks like for you to do play, what it looks like for you to release your past in religion. I could talk about that. Feeling this whole conversation. Thank you, Monica. I will say, let me know what you would like to talk about. But what I will say is it's very important, and this is going to be hard, because human nature, we tend to make everything wrong that we don't understand or don't like. I understand. It's very easy to do that. But here's the thing. The word wrong, when something is wrong, holds a vibration. So if you continuously feed yourself the conversation that something is wrong, that has a hold over you. So then that becomes the other thing, the other chain around your ankle. And so then you start living this world where this is wrong and that's right and this is wrong. Now, do I have an opinion about the world? Of course. Do I have an opinion about pop culture and the news and what happens in the world and society and like where we're going? Of course. I could talk to you for thousands of hours about all my opinions, but I am not attached to them to the point where it's going to disturb my peace. If it ever gets to that point, I stop everything, because that's the biggest problem that we all have is as soon as we're angry or something's wrong, we let it affect our peace. We let it affect who we are as beings. And then we're thrown completely off course and you can't get back on your feet. And then you go into a spiral out kind of, like no man's land. You're just out there. I don't even know what's going on. And so that's what's really uncomfortable. And I've been there many times. By the way, because I'm so familiar with this death rebirth cycle, which happens a lot, not just one time. Okay. This happens regularly. I'll go into that. I'm so used to it that if I see a death coming, I definitely announce it to myself. So let me check in with you guys, and I'll come back to the death rebirth cycle. Okay, Arthur says, still working on that. Completely live that. Okay. Positive experiences. How to stop. Sunny wants to know how to stop regretting the past. Okay. Spirit source. We are all doing the best with what we know is my mantra for past guilt. Yes. And the levels of consciousness in others. Absolutely. So let's go back to the death rebirth cycle, how often it happens. You guys are going to be totally amazed when you hear this, and you're not going to believe me, and that's totally fine. You have to go through it yourself. And I remember helping Erica through this process, my friend and assistant, and let me tell you, she fought it because she couldn't believe that it was happening regularly, and now she understands it. So let's talk about what that is. So a death rebirth, and if you are just joining us now, you have to probably go back later and to get the definition of what that means when you hit your roadblock and start your death rebirth process. So the feeling of death as it approaches really just means that you feel like something has you by the throat. In my case, Taurus is ruled by the throat. So for me, it's always the throat. Some people maybe the stomach, but I don't know. You just feel like you are, this concept, idea, thought has you just gripped. And it won't shake you loose. You can't shake loose from it. It won't let you go. And you try everything in your power to release this feeling, but you can't. So that's when you have to stop everything and you have to address it. And you have to find out what's the thing that's bothering you. Some people go to therapy, they go to shamans, they go to spiritual teachers to find out what is the thing bothering them. And it always usually comes down to there's a thought you're having that is not giving you any permission to be yourself, and that is blocking your freedom of expression. Something that is not letting you feel good, or you feel somebody is hurting you, or somebody is doing something to you and you feel helpless to it, or you feel that shameful, like you did something wrong and other people are pointing fingers at you, and you feel that you can't really be yourself because you feel the judgment around you. These are usually the kind of commonalities that most people feel as they're going through this death. The reason I call it a death, and a lot of people do, is it feels like a death. It just feels very dark and ominous, and it feels sad, and you feel like an empty hole, and you're just going into this vast darkness inside of yourself, where you don't want to really kind of face or address or understand these areas because they're too painful. And the pain is what prevents you from actually sitting with it and actually looking at it and actually asking yourself, do I really need to feel this now? Is this important? Does this help me with my growth? Does it help me move things along? Does it allow me to be free? If it doesn't answer those questions and you can't say yes to that, then that is your clue, that's your tip off that you are releasing a pattern from the past. You're releasing how you used to handle things, your knee-jerk reactions. You're releasing that, and you're moving into a new future where you allow yourself to just be. Because many times when you start to release these painful patterns of the past, as many of you might know if you've experienced this, it's not like you jump out of it completely ready to go with a theme and a goal in mind, and you're like gonna go sprint towards your new life. Like, no, you don't feel that way at all. A lot of times when you come out of it, you're crawling out of it with like shrapnel and like pulling out arrows, and you're exhausted and you're burned out and you feel tired, but it's over. The storm is over, and you can sit back and rest, that it doesn't have a hold over you. You could still not like it. You could still say, this doesn't suit me or work for me, or this is unfair, or I don't feel good about it, or I don't like what I'm experiencing, but it doesn't have to have a grip on you. There's a difference. The grip is all I care about. The grip is what holds us back. That's what holds us down. So let me tune in with you guys real quick. It feels like dying. Yes. Nervous breakdowns. Oh my God. I used to have so many nervous breakdowns. I had so many nervous breakdowns. I had nervous breakdowns about having nervous breakdowns. Yeah, major depression. That's all in this area. And in Hatha, you're definitely right there. Okay, so Amy says, no, you fight the change, kicking and screaming sometimes. Absolutely. I think a bird just came into my house. Oh, it's in the chimney. Oh my God. I'm like, why is there a bird in my house? That's a good sign, right? She's probably saying, sing away, Araya, sing away. Okay. Let's talk about the depression, the storm being over. Okay. If you have a birthday coming up, by the way, guys, that has a lot to do with spiritual rebirths. You'll have always some big, huge, your higher self will bring in this big, it's kind of like a big situation in your life that you'll have to overcome. And if you overcome it, that's your present to yourself. Okay. You hear the bird. Okay. All right. So here we go. Let's talk about the depression part. Let's talk about, you're in the death right now. Okay. All right. So if you're spring is coming. Okay. So if you are feeling depressed right now, is because, big statement, right? Because there could be 1,000 reasons, including your diet. Okay. It could be your hormones. These are all things you have to scratch off the list. But if we were to go look at it from this lens, if we were going to look at it from the lens of the rebirth, the death rebirth, you have to take inventory. Many people don't give themselves permission to stop what they're doing and take time for themselves to be alone and think, whether you need to write it in a journal or think out loud or go for a long walk or many walks or go sit in your car or go drive with music on or be in silence and stop and ask yourself, am I doing what I want to be doing? Am I living the way I want to be living? And is this who I really am? You have to ask yourself these questions. If you don't ask yourself these questions, how are you ever going to organize yourself enough to put all the pieces of your life in its proper order? There are things you're prioritizing now that may not need to be at the top of the list. That thing should be maybe at the bottom of the list, and the thing at the bottom of the list needs to be prioritized to the top of the list. So a lot of times the decisions we make in life are because of shame, guilt, sadness, anger, guilt, shame. Those are the kings that you feel that you have to do. You have to do, you have to do, you have to do, you have to go, you have to go, you have to do, you have to go. It's like, have to. Yeah, you have to take care of your body and brush your teeth and eat the right foods. You have to do that. But there's some very nice validation to doing things that feel good. But when you are putting yourself constantly in situations that's not your truth, you are, and you're having an awakening. This is where you start getting too big for your britches. This is where you are getting too big for your environment. Your soul, your spirit is expanding. Your mind is enlightening. You're advancing. You're evolving. Your vibration is rising. So how do you do that if you're also in a tiny little box? How do you do that when you're living in a tiny little box, doing tiny little things in a way that doesn't suit you anymore? Then what happens? So instead of throwing the baby out with the bathwater and telling everybody to just go to hell, what you want to do is you want to assess. You have to take inventory, just like a business. You have to assess your data bank. You have to assess your thoughts. You have to assess what you are prioritizing. You have to assess what you're saying yes to, what you're saying no to, whether you're saying no to yourself, like you want to take that dance class, but you keep telling yourself no. So you have to count that in. And you also have to say what you're saying yes or no to in the world. So you take this information, and there's going to be a lot of it, as you can imagine. At first, it looks like it's maybe 5 or 6 areas, but no, it's layered, as you know. So you're going to take these areas and you're going to look at them and you're going to go, okay, am I in my truth with what I'm doing for a living? And if you're not, what can I do to change that? Do I have to educate myself in another field? Do I have to get a trade job? Do I have to quit this job altogether? Do I have to become an entrepreneur? Do I have to do what? Like, what do I do to change so I feel better? You know, I do a lot of work on the computer, but I have to. And what's crazy is that I'm like, my whole world is about not being on the computer because I just want to have fun and do my life. But I need to do a lot of physical things. Like I just finished a 200-page book. Actually, it's 200 pages at an 8x10, but it's going to be a 6x7. So it's going to be probably way bigger than that. And I'm really, really excited if it is, because I can't wait to show it to you guys. It's called Finding Merlin. Oh my God, it fits right into our story that we're talking about. And Finding Merlin is about the rebirth ascension process. And it's set in Merlin's forest. I just wrote this book. So I got carpal tunnel from it. My eyes were burning. I got a headache. So what I had to learn is how to step away from the computer every 15 minutes, go walk outside, get in the sun, do some exercise, break it up. You know, this is just an example. So you're going to have to do things to customize your comfort at home and at work. You got to customize your work. You have to customize like, I'll give you an example. Let's say in a work day, you have overscheduled yourself and you have all these meetings and you have to have a lunch and a dinner, and your whole day is shot. By the time you come home, it's 10 p.m. and you have no time to do your laundry and you can't eat a normal meal or anything because you're always eating out and yada, yada, yada. This goes on, and most people do this. And a lot of people are realizing they can't live like this anymore. So it's okay to only have like 1 or 2 meetings per day, maybe 1 over Zoom, only 1 lunch date, maybe 1 outing once a day or twice a week. You totally change it. You could totally change it. This is what I'm talking about. These are the little minute changes that helps you to reorganize how you're doing things. And those little tiny changes will make all the difference in the world. Also, make sure you check your diet, because when you're going through the ascension process, your body is very sensitive and feels everything a million times more. And so if you're eating heavy foods that are hard to digest or giving you heartburn, and it's keeping you up at night because you're just eating too much, or your serotonin levels are off because you're eating saturated fats and you're eating fried foods and you're eating processed foods and your body is rejecting it and you're feeling sick and you don't feel good, it's not helping. Your ascension process is a total body experience. That includes changing your diet. That's why I always bring that up. And if anybody needs any help in this area, my guru is Dr. Mark Hyman, Hyman. He is online. You can find all his books and YouTube videos and Instagram and blah, blah, blah. He is amazing. I lost 28 pounds being on his diet. It's not even a diet. It's really just how to properly eat. And I changed how I cook for my family, and they're thriving, and I'm healing. And anything that looked like it was going to be an autoimmune disease that I had inflammatory responses to, all reversed. And I can't even tell you how that's changed my life. You can only imagine. So do not quickly cruise by the conversation of diet and health. Very important. So check in with your diet. So this is a part of the inventory. So this inventory is necessary for you to advance. So let me check in with you guys. I've been talking for a while. Okay. Yes, Amy, one of your speakers used to say, you're not Costco. You can't carry everything. Be aware of yourselves and empty them often. Your shelves. Absolutely. Thank you, Arthur. Yes, the book, I'm so excited. It's almost done being edited, and the cover's amazing. I'm freaking out. It's my first novel. It's a spiritual memoir. Oh my God. I'm losing it. Melody, I believe I'm in a death. I have been struggling with letting go of the blocks, allowing myself to be physically healthy and financially healthy. Melody, I'm going to give you and anyone else listening that are currently going through a spiritual death, I'm going to give you some things that you can do to help while you're going through it, because you can't rush it. The reason you can't rush a death and force yourself is because it took you a long time to get to the point where you had to learn a particular way of life. And now you're changing that way of life. So it's not like a quick little left-hand turn and you're out of the woods. You have to actually go right back out of the woods the way you came into the woods. So it takes some time. But here's some things you can do to ease your discomfort. Number one. Oh, by the way, Aqua Sunny, a horrible sugar addiction. Okay, so the sugar addiction is your microbiome is off, the fungus is off, all the good stuff is off in your body, your bacteria is off, it's not balanced, and that's why your body is craving. You probably have a lot of candida in your intestinal tract. There's you could have leaky gut from that. There's a lot of things that can go wrong with eating too much sugar. Today's your 8th day without sugar, but it's really hard. Yes, it is. Okay, so to get you back on track, and I'll go back to you, Melody, to go back on track about sugar, I just want to say that there are a lot of products like monk fruit and different things that have sweetness to kind of help you get kind of like fade out. And also if you start feeding your... I don't want to say mitochondria because that sounds really extreme, but there's some shakes. There's some protein shakes. Look up Dr. Mark Hyman. Look up his protein shakes. There's some protein shakes that have these ingredients that feed your cells, and the minerals in your body go up, and you start to stabilize, and your good bacteria starts to change. And then before you know it, your sugar craving is gone, and then all of the effects from sugar goes with it. So you have to begin somewhere. So you start with removing sugar and then starting to add the new products. So please look him up. And Dr. Berg, B-E-R-G, also is our other guru that we love. Okay, let's go back to Melody. So you're going through a death. Okay, so when you go through a death, and by the way, sugar crashing, when you crash from not having sugar, is also a death. You can experience an actual like crash. You know, serotonin levels change, dopamine levels change, and you do experience a bottoming out, and you do get depressed. So here's some things. Besides changing your diet, Melody, what you can do is, what I really truly believe in is changing your environment. When you change your environment, it gives your mind a moment to take note that we're not doing the same pattern over and over. A lot of times when people are depressed, what they happen to do is constantly reiterate, repeat, like a mantra. You're constantly repeating the same negative dialogue. And so if you're in the same environments, having the same dialogue, and everything is so repetitive, it feels like you're in this constant loop. So you have to change your environment. I call it mixing it up. So you have to change where you are sitting, change where you are walking, change where you are eating, change where you are sleeping, change the colors of your room, the colors of your clothes, go to the ocean or go to the desert or go to the mountains or go in the sun. Whatever you're not doing, go do, because that is going to help you change your mindset and start to help alleviate some of this pattern. And also, I forgot to mention working out and yoga. It's all total body, mind, and spirit, isn't it? So yoga, working out at the gym, exercise classes. If you do it, you could do it online for free. There's wonderful classes you can take online. And if you just move your body and build up those awesome, wonderful chemicals in your body that we all need, that makes us happy, the happy hormones, then you will start to see a difference in your depression and in your death. There is a tiny little caveat here I'd like to mention. Caveat is inside of a depression, if you dig around in there and you are not really excited about everything I just said, you'll notice there's some anger and wanting to be right. and wanting to get back at people and revengeful, or feeling that the stubborn part of you, like you won't make a move unless they do, that can be anchors that hold depression in place. So you got to dig around and get to the anchors that are not letting you move the depression out. So those anchors are the real reason you're mad, and the real reason you're not giving yourself permission to change your life. It could be you're mad at your parents that they did it wrong and they didn't take care of you properly. Most humans feel that way. So hopefully, I don't know. It's a generational thing. I don't know. It just keeps changing. My kids are not going to say I raised them perfectly at all. And their kids are not going to say that about them. So the faster you release your parents from the death grip of anger and blame and victimhood, the faster you will set yourself free to having a new life. Let me check in with you guys really quick. So Aqua Sunny says, so like total and general change, by all means, very interesting advice. Probably spot on. I definitely am spot on. I'm a work in progress, but I'm also living proof. Yes, I have the Forever Young book too, Christine. The diet is amazing. I love the shakes. Okay, so Melody says, thank you for your suggestions. I do have some anger, but that's a whole nother story. Well, that is the story, actually. Anger is an anchor. Sounds the same. Anger and anchor. It's the same thing. When you're angry, there's firepower involved, but it's also directed, and it's very meticulously constructed, and it comes with a lot of dialogue of why you're angry. If you break all that apart and go into your anger to understand why, you were probably something went wrong. So somebody made you wrong. You're making somebody else wrong. They didn't do it right, or I didn't do it right. And those are usually the mechanisms of anger. And if you want to break free from anger, which I think we all secretly always want to do, then you have to release the constructs, the stories that hold anger in place, and anchor it to your soul that won't let you go. Those constructs, those little ideologies, it should have been this way, but then it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. So therefore I am angry. This person did me wrong. They did me wrong in a really bad way, and I'm going to get back at them, and I'm angry. I don't like the way XYZ is going, and therefore I'm angry, and I'm going to do something about it, which is great if it ends productively. However, anger is a very slow burning fuel, but it will empty out your resources. As you know, anger requires a lot of firepower to maintain, and to keep the composure of anger going, you have to feed the coal. It has to come from somewhere. And where is it coming from? Your cells. So you're telling your cells in your body to be angry about this topic, and it's going to do whatever you say, and it's going to produce all the things, including cortisol, which is a high stress release of chemicals into your body that actually puts strain and stress on your heart. And by the way, side note, not to scare you, did you know you can die of stress? Yes, you can, because cortisol levels, if they're too high, will actually attack your organs and your cells and immune system and immunity cells, and create inflammation in the body, and create such dis-ease that you can create inflammatory responses that will end up a disease, or it can end up killing you, etc. So cortisol levels have to be down. How do you do that? Well, that's a part of the death rebirth cycle, is you are removing the constructs of your past and your anger and the things that held you back and releasing them. And that is what spiritual rebirth is all about. It's about releasing the constraints of your past. Easier said than done. I have been working on it my whole entire journey. I started in November 2009. Does it get easier? Yes, it does. I have, Melody says, I have a lot of hurt and pain in regards to one of my sons. It has been an ongoing process. Yes, I have the same thing with my own son. So I'm just going to say it quickly because it's a whole nother conversation. Souls choose their soul path, just like you did. And if you interview your parents, they're probably going to say you may have done some things differently that they wanted you to do. So you, Melody, had your own soul path and your astrology and your inclinations and your sun sign and your influences, your culture, your environment, the school you went to, your anything and everything can be what was the impetus and the reason why you did the things you did. Your parents may not agree with those decisions. So it's normal for parents to want what's best for their kids. And then the soul is also on its own separate soul path than yours, right? Just like you are different from your parents. So your soul path, as you're moving along in life, you're making decisions for yourself that are good for you. And some decisions may not be good for you, but you don't realize they're not good for you because you need to grow and you need to learn and you need to mature. And then you'll find out that it wasn't good for you. Now, we do our best as parents to try to veer our kids in a direction that will be the least harm to them so that they can be as safe as possible. And you're going to do whatever means possible to try to help your child. But also, you have to understand the surviving aspect of humanity where us humans have a desire to live and thrive and survive. Sometimes what you're dealing with a child is, or a grown child or a younger child, is this child is trying to survive its own environment. And in that environment, it is trying to make the right decisions, and they think they're making the right decision for themselves, even it may not be the right decision. And you have to stand back as a parent and watch this happen, and it's painful and you don't want to watch it. So you do your best to give information. And if they don't receive the information and they're hell-bent, you can try other alternate means to get other people involved to see if they can influence your child. And if that doesn't work, there's a part of the human experience where you have to release and let go. I know it's not easy, but I had to do it myself because of the inclinations of my child. That person, this individual, has to experience certain things for themselves to understand themselves better as a soul, just like I had to do. You cannot take away the person's experience that they need to experience for themselves. And as you know, with your friends and family, and even with yourself, when people are hell-bent, they're hell-bent. And when someone is hell-bent, it's hard to get them off that track. So you have to wish them well, bless their journey, be a part of their life, be supportive, and you have to release and understand there's a bigger picture. You have to understand that he's not alone or he or she's not alone. They have their guides, and you do what you can to offer assistance and be there for them. And at the end of the day, they have to ultimately decide how to be alive on this planet and how to function, just like we all had to do. And nobody's going to come in there and make you do it any different because humans are the most stubborn creatures in the world. Okay. So Simone, same with my oldest daughter. She has a lot of pain with me too, but I'm waiting until she's older to hopefully reconnect. Yes. Dawn, I struggle with anger daily due to others in the house not helping with household chores, and I don't know how to get through them, and I don't know how to accept. So Dawn, this is a really good topic. I want to talk about this because we all live in houses, right? Most of us. If not, you live in a van or a boat or something like that, but you still have an environment. And if you're living with others and you have an environment and you have to maintain order, if you don't have a good system in place, it falls apart and then chaos, and then you're left with everything, or someone's left with everything, and then more chaos, more anger. So remember the number one goal. Your number one goal in life is to maintain peace and composure in your spirit, right? Don't forget that. You're here to maintain your composure. You're here to maintain your peace and your tranquility while you yourself experience your own life. So you have to choose your battles. Choose where you want to put forth all of your energy and being mad and depressed and angry every day. Because where you spend your energy, you're getting the return investment. So whatever you're putting out, you're getting back. So if you keep putting out their anger and you're pissed off about your house and no one's helping you, you're hurting yourself way more than you can possibly hurt anyone else. And you're still not getting what you want done. So it's not a really creative way to handle it by being just upset and throwing tantrums. I know we want to kind of just hope that everything just falls into place when we do that, but it doesn't. As we all know, as you learn, you realize those tantrums maybe will get somebody's attention, but it's not really going to change things. So in order to really change things in your life, you're going to have to 110% change the way you organize your activities, including how the house gets clean. Whether that means family meetings, setting rules like you probably have tried, and using you can have like treats, like outings, positive reinforcement, positive responses for people who help around the house, or you hire someone to do it. And if you can't afford to hire somebody, then you do an exchange with someone. I'll do this for you if you can please clean my house. It's going to get to this point. You're going to have to start shutting off all the valves, those little valves, the pressure cooker valves of your life where the pressure is on and you hear the kettle and that kettle is making that really high pitched squeal. You got to turn off those valves. You have to, because I hate to say this, I'm not being dramatic. I'm actually being very technical. It is killing you slowly. And it is going to drive you mentally bonkers, right? So you have to start changing the way you do everything. Okay. Hey, Rain, welcome back. So yeah, we're just talking about death and rebirth. Such a nice and easy topic. Okay. Also, I want to talk to you guys about hormones. While I'm talking here with you guys, I have a raging migraine. I have a raging migraine from my hormones because I am 50 and I'm turning 51 in May, and I am going through a lot of changes with the protocols that I'm taking, and I'm adjusting to what works. And sometimes if I take too much, and we haven't found the right ratio, if I take too much in one area of my hormones, I get this raging headache that lasts like 12 hours. But I don't want it to stop my life. And so it's really, really difficult, but I move through it. But I just want to say how much hormones affect for male and female. It doesn't matter if you're in your teens or in your older years or middle-aged. I just want to say hormones can affect so many things in your life that you think is wrong with you, from being overly emotional to being trigger happy, angry, to being too up and down roller coaster, to being like panic attacks too many times. You would be shocked to find out if you did a hormone panel and you found out where your hormones were, you will find out there's a good chance you're off balance in your hormones. It is literally the regulation. It is the regulatory mechanisms that keep your emotional state even, because it is the oil. It's like oil that lubricates the machinery in your being. And if you don't have the right amounts and the right balance of pressure in your body, you will be affected. And I have been through the rainbow of emotions that come with hormones and adjusting hormones, and hormones, being a major part of your life. So all men should check their testosterone levels, women too. All women should check their estrogen and progesterone levels. Everybody should check their thyroid levels. You should always know where your adrenaline levels are at. You need to know what's in your tank. You're careful with your car, but you don't care what happens to the very body that's going to get you through day in and day out. So you can't even enjoy a proper ascension process and go through your rebirth if your body is clunking along with a broken tire and no oil, and the thing is burning and there's hardly any gas, I mean, you're looking for a crash and burn situation, and you're going to end up sick or in the hospital. You're going to end up pissed off, and now everybody's going to die. You're going to get mad at everyone. Everybody goes down with the ship. You know, it can get that extreme. And I've tasted all these areas, so I know. So that's why I always make sure you understand you're looking at everything. You're taking inventory and understanding where your mind is at, what you're thinking about every day. If you need to write it down on a piece of paper, you guys, I have done that. I have literally sat and I wrote this back in the day. I wrote, what am I afraid of? And I filled like 3 pages. And then what am I angry about? And I filled 3 pages. So like, if you need to do it that way, you gotta get it in front of you. You gotta look at it. You gotta see. You gotta take inventory of where you're at. Otherwise, it's going to be muddled and it's going to be confusing. It's like all your thoughts are going to just be rolling around in your head, and they're going to be going this way and that way. And then you don't even know which ones are patterns that are even your own thoughts to begin with, and which ones are just a new thought that you're having, one that you're trying to heal yourself. And before you know it, imagine having so many windows open on your laptop, and you have all these videos playing at once and radio stations going, and it's chaos and mayhem, and people think they have mental illness. It's not that. It's just overload. It's overload, and you're not taking inventory. You're not sitting down properly. I don't hardly teach meditation, you guys. I don't have to. I just teach what I'm teaching you now. Self-realization and self-observation and organization of your mind and spirit and thoughts is how you're going to meditate. Think about it. That's how you're going to get yourself under control. And isn't that what we want? Okay. Rain, I agree. I'm 32 years old, and I also have hormone issues. Had the issues since I was a child. Never knew till I saw my functional medicine specialist. Absolutely. That'll change your life. Thank you, Melody. Everybody, if you want to send me love and light from my headache, I'd really appreciate it. That would be really amazing. Oh, that's great, Amy. I'm so glad you love this topic. If anybody is in your family that is possibly facing some of the issues and things that we've been talking about today, you know, and you don't know how to discuss it or bring it to the table, you can just send them this video and tell them to watch it and say, you know, this could answer some of the issues that they're having. So I would like to check in and see if anybody has any specific questions. I don't even know how long I've been on. Okay. Dawn, maybe it's the 50-year-old hormones that are making my anger flare too. Never have been an angry person. Absolutely. 1,000%. You are going to experience hormonal fluctuations as you get older. And the reason you're angry is because you'll have a trigger hairpin reaction, because you have no patience, because you're running on empty, because you're thinned out and you feel like you have nothing else left to give and there's not enough for you. And then you build on that story. And then before you know it, the house collapses, everybody with it. And you're so pissed off, you don't care, and you don't care what happens to your body. I had the phrase right there in the back of my head, my painful head. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you continue bringing this type of energy into your life, you will keep repeating this cycle. If you bring in the energy of, I am doing good for myself every day I take the time to do 1 or 2 things, 3 or 4 things, 10 things, from this hour to this hour, or all day, where I'm taking care of my health, taking care of myself, taking care of my body, mind, and spirit. I'm showing myself gratitude and love and light for carrying me around in this beautiful composition of flesh and bone and nerves and water and chemical reactions and electricity. And you're moving this body around all day long. And if you don't give back to it, at some point, it's going to run out of gas. That's what happens. And what happens is you start freaking out and you start banging your cage walls and you're trying to get out. And so that's what the beginning of this video is about, is this is how it all starts. This is where you start your rebirth process. And as you ascend, go through the ascension process of living a higher vibrational life, you're going to notice the changes in your life are going to be so drastic and apparent. But if you stay in the understanding that this is a part of your natural order, this is the part of the natural order of evolution, that you are growing and expanding because you are a part of nature, and that's what nature does. Nature grows and expands and evolves, and you are part of nature, and that's what you're doing. So when you accept that, receive that, acknowledge that, this is a part of your spiritual path. This is your spiritual journey. This is why you're here. Why else are you here? Are you here just to cross things off of lists? Honestly, think about it. Is that what you're here to do? You got the day-to-day list, the year list, and then the overall life list. I need to experience these things. And if I don't experience these things, well, I guess I failed. Well, you guys, that's a lot of pressure you're putting on yourself. What about if you just order the salad the way you like the salad? What about if you go for a walk in a neighborhood you've always wanted to go? Start small. Start in the tiniest little fragments of your life where you're not letting yourself. I had certain things for me, like for instance, being a Taurus, I tend to be very giving and selfless to the point where I couldn't buy cute, fuzzy socks for myself. I see other people do it. And to me, it was just a waste of time and money or whatever. I had excuses. And I also did that with other things. And I never liked the socks I was wearing. I was always really bummed that everybody had better socks than me. And my socks were like dumb. Like they didn't have the right coziness. They didn't have the right texture. They were just standard, you know. And I realized probably the nose running has something to do with the headache, right? So I realized, I was like, it took me forever to realize I need to buy socks that I like. It was like I was coming out of a tomb. I was coming out into the sunlight, and I was like, socks? Nice socks? And so me and Erica make jokes about this all the time because she has this area too. And so we laugh about this all the time. We're like, nice things for myself? Now, some people do this naturally. They are always giving to themselves nice things. And I think that's fantastic. I don't know how to do that. And I'm learning. And I'm always learning how to do it constantly. And it has to do with my upbringing. It has to do with my belief system. It has to do with my sun sign. It has to do with a lot of things. But I'm learning that if I have nice socks on that are cozy and comfortable, I feel sane and normal. So now imagine if I do that with everything. So, I'll give you an example about my podcast studio here. So we had a few lights on, you know, our little lights that we light up. And I never liked that I didn't have the option of like changing the degrees of warmth or whatever. And I suffered for 6 months for no reason, but it's just my natural thing to suffer. So I suffered for 6 months, and I wouldn't allow myself to just go on Amazon and buy the right lights. What is the problem? It's not expensive. It's not a big deal. Why can't I do that? And it's these little areas, and there's so many of them hidden inside of us. Like, why is the bathroom like that? Or why are my drawers like this? Or why do I still have that couch? How many of you like your couch? What about your bed that you sleep in? I mean, these are things that are so important, and we take it for granted. Imagine when you're sleeping in a bed that really feels good, or a pillow that really works, or a couch that you feel great in, that matches your personality and who you are, or you go to a restaurant you've always wanted to go eat at. It's like, we have to start living, right? You have to break through this construction site of our construction site that we've been working with concrete and building materials, trying to like survive this planet, right? So no, that's not why we're here. We're not here to scratch things off of lists. I mean, you can have a list, it's fine, but you can't be owned by that. The whole point of a spiritual rebirth is to not be owned by anything except yourself. Okay, let's see what else you guys are talking about. Okay. Melody's going to the zoo. Yay. Bye, Melody. You go to the zoo. I've been to the zoo so many times for the same reason. And let me tell you how big of a healing I got. I can't even tell you how much I love the zoo. The animals are so conscious and they chose to be there. I know it's a bigger topic, but I will tell you. And yes, I agree to all the things you're saying about zoos. But I will tell you, those animals are conscious beings and they know you're there, and communicate with them and you will get a healing. And I'm going to start crying, so I have to stop talking about that. Okay. Yes, Melody, please go. We will wish you well. Okay. Buckshot, my salad wants bacon and extra ranch. Well, listen, you can get healthy types of toppings that are imitation, that are not full of salt, and also healthy for you. Okay. It exists. You could do it. It's the extra little steps, but so what? You could do it. And look, if you need to cheat here or there because that's just what you need to do, then do it. It's just when what I'm talking about is across the board, as you guys know, right? Okay, Rain Monet. I've had severe depression since I was 12. I feel finally free and ready to expand to my higher self. Woohoo! Well, Rain, I love your name, but are you empowered by Rain? If you're not empowered by Rain, maybe do something with the letterings or something, because you got to feel uplifted. I love the rain in the spring, right? The rain that brings the flowers. So how do you see yourself? How do you see your name? How do you see life? And you're on the right path. I'm so excited for you, Melody. So awesome. Okay, Dawn. Yes. Okay. So we said a lot today. And yes, is there more to go? Of course there's more to go. But without any more specific questions, I don't know what area I should probably go into. You could always talk about relationships. I know that's heavy. So I'm going to use my story because I think we should touch on relationships because I think it's important. I will use my story and I'll briefly talk about it. But my ascension process, my rebirth, death, ascension, as I was rising, just like I've explained in this video, ended with the divorce of the husband that I was with. And I had to, because I had tried everything and nothing worked. I couldn't make it work. I had gotten together with him at a time in my life that I was no longer in that headspace and no longer that person. And I knew this person couldn't grow with me to the next stages of life, nor did I want that. I didn't feel it was appropriate anymore. I felt that I couldn't really truly be myself. And it was very painful. I was very sad and I hurt a lot. It was very, very dramatic. I had 2 small children with him. That took it to levels of extreme pain that those of you who understand divorce, the kind of pain I can't describe. Lots of crying. So I did it also to save my health because my health was in jeopardy and I wasn't taking care of myself. Our lifestyle wasn't providing that. Nothing I could say or do made it better. I didn't have the skills. I didn't know how to fix him or me. And I gave up after 7 years. And Kundalini awakening, yes. Jen, it is the same thing. Kundalini is basically what Kundalini energy is, a description of the energy field that runs through all of us. That's energetic, that goes from our root chakra, our seat, bottom of your spine. It goes up the spine, up through your crown chakra and up. And when you have a spiritual rebirth, a lot of times you'll feel activity happening like that. And you'll even feel the top of your head buzzing, or you'll feel your third eye buzzing. And sometimes you'll feel weird energetic frequencies running through your body as your body awakens to this new you. So yes, it is a Kundalini experience. And it's sometimes faster and easier to have those experiences during a shamanic journey on plant medicine. It's like a fast track to get to that experience. Okay, going back to the relationship. So it started bursting through before I asked for the divorce. I couldn't contain anymore. that there was a version of me that wanted to come forward. There was a version of me that wanted to be seen and heard by the planet and by myself. And I knew that it couldn't be with him. And there was nothing I can say or do to change that. It was so deep and so powerful. It was such a torrent of energy that I had to let it just was breaking the dams, and it just started flowing through. And so it was almost like 10 days of feeling this, and I couldn't sleep at night. I was wide awake. I knew something was changing, but it was at a soul level. It wasn't at a physical level. I was feeling like I could see with 1,000 eyes, like Rumi says. It was like a spider with 1,000 eyes. Like, it just was very dramatic. Like I was all of a sudden, I could see everything so clearly. I had a kind of clarity I never had before, and I was able to see what was really happening. And I felt bad for him because I knew that he wasn't to blame or at fault. And I knew that he didn't really understand or know what was happening because he was just doing what he normally does. And he wasn't doing anything specific to me that my soul didn't ask for. It was the arrangement we had for 7 years. I no longer could do it. And I knew I couldn't. And it was building. And I kept getting to this point where it was like crescendo. And I said, okay, well, I'm just going to have to do this. And so that's when I let it out, and I asked for the divorce. And it was hard, and it was the best thing I ever did. And then I felt a huge release. And then the following weeks, I kept feeling this kind of explosive energy coming from me, just like coming out of me. And I used to have really long, dark hair. I totally went blonde. I wanted to look totally different. It's like I took the reins of my life. It's like I became a different human. Like, I just started talking different and living differently immediately. Like, I couldn't wait any longer. I had to actually just take control of who I was. Now, up until this point, I had it set up that I felt he was the reason and the catalyst. He was what was blocking me. And he might have been a major part of it. But looking back now, I know that he wasn't the reason. He was a part of the storyline that wasn't my storyline anymore. So that's something that you guys have to consider. And sometimes what can happen is you can be reverse for you, is you'll have a reconnection and find more love for your partner in a relationship that has gone stale. That you feel like you live in a pattern-filled world, and you live in something that is never going to end. It's always just going to be the same thing, and you're just going to live the same life doing the same thing, and it's not fun, and you don't like it anymore, and it's just routine-based, and you're not even in love anymore. You could also rekindle all of that, because that person is also experiencing what you are experiencing, and also feeling the same things from you. So it's that person's reacting to you. So you both can do a spiritual journey together. You both can do plant medicine together. You both can do a shamanic experience. You both can rekindle your love. I've seen it happen many times. Older marriages that have completely come back to life. And it's like you're starting over. And so that's totally possible also. So keep that in mind. That could also happen. It doesn't mean that you have to break from everything and everyone. It also can mean that you're watering all your flowers more. You get more of you, more juiciness from you, and more spread out to the world. Okay. So I think we are coming to a close, because I can kind of feel it. And I think this was really great. If you guys have any more questions, I know relationship is kind of a tough topic to talk about online, and you don't really want to put it out there. And I get that. So just hear what I'm saying and just take that in. But I really appreciate your time and energy. Yes, Amy, it's like the cork just popped out of the bottle and the contents just rushed out. That's exactly right. That's exactly what it feels like. So that's your death rebirth conversation. I hope that this helped you guys. I hope that this gives you more information. And if you have anybody in your life that needs more information, just just tell them who I am and what I do and why I'm doing this, and tell them to watch it, because I think it can help a lot of people. So if you guys want a part 2, let me know. And if you want me to talk about specific topics in the community board, you could just drop it in, or you could drop it here in the comments, and I could definitely come back and answer part 2 questions. I really appreciate you guys. And I guess that's everything. Talk to you. Wait for our Couples Reacts video with Riz. It's coming tonight. So it'll be really fun. It's not live. Okay, talk to you later. Bye-bye.